Welcome to the Brutiful Game. As always, I am Blake here with Ferris.
Hola.
And Ron.
What's happening?
And on tonight's episode of the Brutiful Game, we will, of course, talk the match of the weekend as Man City and Arsenal played out a 2-2 almost instant Premier League classic, as this was filled with worldie golds, red cards, housery, gamesmanship, and so much more. And a ref that loves some attention. Stop that guy. Then we'll go over the rest of the Premier League action from match week 5 and our 2-minute drill. Then we're going to blow the halftime whistle as the thriller of the Nick Jackson and the Casado of the Chimichurri Ron shares with us all the news that's fit to drink and yet another edition of Ron's Beer News. Then we're going to close out the pod with the La Liga's Roundup. Satellite delay. But first, ladies and gentlemen, spoons, our beer. And since I have spent the better part of way too many hours in the last few weeks opening a Halloween or building a Halloween event to open this past weekend, I thought, let's just drink all that work away. It's from Two Roads Brewing in Staten, out in Connecticut, which I have done before. Stratford, Connecticut. I've done something from Two Roads. Very, any bar you go to here, they're always going to have Two Roads Brewing. And at the time, I was going to say the holidays, but I guess holidays be like spooky stuff. For Halloween, they always have their Rhodes Merry Baby.
Nice.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's a great name. It's a scary good pumpkin ale with a two-road spin. It's aged in rum barrels for added complexity and depth of flavor. The result is smooth drinking ale with notes of pumpkin, spices, vanilla, oak, and a touch of rum.
Yum.
Wow.
I'm pretty excited. 6.8% ABV.
Nice. So I guess that's us now.
Oh yeah, that's your
Okay.
beers.
So
We have 2 beers, and I'm really excited because Ron's like, do not look in there. Do not look in there. We have 2 beers. Yeah, let's go.
they're always going to be good when I'm like, you're not allowed to look at the beers. So there's no other way to say this beer or introduce this beer other than at pep rallies, people got stitches at the advertisement pep rally for this beer. And if you've been paying attention to the beer news,
Oh, no, you didn't.
you would know what this is. You want to make a guess?
Oh, yeah, brother.
God, this should be a video.
Yes.
Yeah, brother.
Real American beer.
Hulk Hogan's beer.
Hulk Hogan's. Oh my
As soon as
God.
you said stitches at the beer announcement, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
heck yeah.
So I managed to find it.
Gross.
Yeah.
Terrible. So great.
And here's a can for you, sir.
Oh,
my
my thing's going to match well with this. Don't you worry.
I pulled this up on the web to start reading, and I'm already just like, what have you done? Ron, what have you done? Also, Hulk Hogan never looked like that at his most ripped. That picture.
No, he did not. Oh my God.
It's
So-
like an AI version of him was made.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
And, a few extra 100 muscles on this. So funny story. I go to the establishment where I can find this, and I can't find it. So I asked the beer guy, and I'm like, look, don't judge me. Because I go there a bunch. He knows me. And I'm like, please don't judge me. But I'm looking for the Hulk Hogan beer. And he goes, oh, yeah, it's down, X aisle on the right. And I was like, yeah, but that's the cases aisle. I just want like a single or a 6. And he goes, oh, they only sell it in 12s or 24s.
Let's go get a briefcase. Please tell me you got a briefcase.
So I
of
had to
this
get
Oh, my.
a 12-pack.
Oh, I was hoping
which
you could
means
get-
I'm going to probably take some home with me tonight because he wants to get rid of the damn thing.
But, gentlemen,
Oh my
look at this case.
Oh, we should get that framed and put it on the wall here in the studio.
Here's the thing. I'm looking at this case. It's got American written on it. It's red, white, and blue. Real American beer. Really little bitty letters, light beer under it with Hulk Hogan. But here's the thing, Ron. I think you're going to fly with exactly what I'm saying. They have appropriated just enough of here and there looks of things like Budweiser and other beers.
Correct.
That this looks exactly like a beer that would be on a sitcom that is not allowed to use
Right.
a real beer, and they made a fake company logo.
Yes. 100%.
That is a great shout. And have I ever told you, I don't know if I've ever shared this on the pod, but Hulk Hogan, we would see all the time.
Yeah.
I
Clearwater guy.
didn't know where this was going to go.
'Cause
Hulk Hogan is my
Because he's a Clearwater guy.
Yeah.
He lived in like the Bel Air Bluffs on the road. So we would see him at church, oddly enough, at St. Cecilia Catholic Church. So at like the height of his time, we would see him. But you know when we would see him? Every major holiday. So Easter, Christmas, all of the big like Catholic holidays,
Right.
we would see him. He in church. We were never allowed to wear hats in church. Like, my dad was, you wear some khakis, you tuck in your thing. Bandana. He'd wear a bandana. He'd stand and you'd see him, man.
He was going bald and couldn't deal with it. Right.
Sure.
So he wore that.
I will tell you, the instances that we ran into him around town, very nice. Whatever's happened in the past year, 10 years, however, family was on TV and lawsuits and sex tapes and yada, yada, yada. I'll let you go on Google and see all that. But the times that he was around town, for instance, my sister, her club soccer team was doing one of those like shake the cans at, outside of a local bar and grill. He walked up, dropped a few $20 bills in there for him. I said,
Nice.
hope you guys do well in this season. So the interactions that we had as kids with him, just seeing him around and everything like that, he was very nice. He had his store down there on Clearwater Beach. But man, I'm looking forward to this one. I shouldn't be, but I am.
I'm looking forward to your faces. When you
well, this follows, Blake. You don't know this. This follows a beer that we had on the last pod. It wasn't Hulk Hogan. It was Troy Aikman's 8 beer.
Yeah.
So that night, I went on to see if I could buy anything from it. And this is Ron's first birthday gift that I'm going to let him open. I had to make sure it was actually in there because it came super quick. I was like, holy crap.
Is this an 8 beer t-shirt?
You're damn right, but wait till you see what it says.
Oh, God. I open it so Blake can see it.
Oh my God, this is hysterical.
So it's got the 8 logo.
Yeah.
The 2 squares. It's got 8 on the sleeve. Just great beer.
But how does the 8 make?
I don't know.
Sorry, Ron. I'm still your bleep sheet's growing really strong over here. How that is it? No. That's not like Too Fast, Too Furious, or the fate of the Furious with the 8 in the middle. You can't do that, Troy Aikman.
I know.
No, that is an abomination to the English language. That is fate. Nope. Hold it back up, Ron. I need to see it right now. I need to see it right now. You know what that says? This is awful. We got to put this on the social so this makes sense. It says F, the number, logo 8, CKING beer. You know what that is? Just Great Faking beer.
Right.
I'm just going to throw that out there right now. It says Just Great Faking beer.
Do you know what's even better? I went on to see it, and I was like, oh, for a smooth $18.99, this is Ron's. It was the only available size was his size. Was just a medium. XL's gone.
Right.
Large is gone. Small's gone. 2X gone.
All the Texans bought.
So I was like, sign me up. Send that bad boy. Let's do it overnight. Let's do whatever.
That ain't hilarious. That's faking great is what that
it is.
That is the dumbest. No, I'm sorry. He thought that was clever, and some like graphic artist on Upwork or Fiverr was like, oh my gosh.
Right.
I do not think that means what you think it means. So.
Right. So, yeah.
That just made my night.
2 great American hero beers we've had in the matter of the last 2 pods.
I had to go seek this out.
A 12-pack of it.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say I'm going to enjoy this Rosemary Baby better than you're going to enjoy.
I think you're probably right.
Beer.
So the beer here for Real American Beer, if you go on the website, therealamerican.com.
And you should go on the website, by the way.
Everything on it is red, white, and blue poster for America, right? It just says Real America Beer all over the place.
Real America
Yeah.
beer.
It says, feels like a good year for a real beer. Experience the crisp, refreshing taste of a premium American tradition with our handcrafted light lager proudly brewed in the USA. But what's in the beer, brother? And then you can go and you can click
Isn't that fun?
on various. What kind of beer is it? It's a premium American style lager made for you right here in the USA. Made from 100% North American malt and hops. It's brewed longer and cold fermented, making light, crisp, and easy drinking beer. The malt provides a deep golden color, and the hops contribute the overall balance of the beer and the crisp finish. Incorrect.
Did you read the headline to that?
How would a beer snob describe it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not accurate because okay. I don't have time on this podcast.
I say we shotgun this. How about you?
Oh my
Seriously, go to this website and look at the packaging, and it looks like a fake beer that would be like, whatever movie or show that doesn't want to pay anybody or hasn't been paid to advertise anybody, right. I should say.
You know what though? I bet it is better than butternuts.
You don't know. You haven't had it yet.
That's true. That's fair. That's fair.
Say.
And their tagline here, America's at its best when united. And if there's one thing we can all agree on, it's the simple pleasure of sharing a beer. That's why we started Real American Beer, to bring people together one beer at a time. It's actually a pretty good tagline.
God bless the Hulkster.
I mean,
and one last thing that's very interesting, I think is funny.
There's merch.
When you go to the merch, there is a shirt that's written in the Hulk Hogan font that says, "What you gonna brew?
What you gonna
Ron,
do?"
you might be getting the second gag gift.
Oh my God!
The hat they have looks like a Pabst Blue ribbon hat, but it's a real American beer hat.
Yeah.
The design, I would say, the design language looks like Budweiser and Pabst Blue Ribbon had a baby.
Get a beach towel with them on it.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait to have a American Muscle beach towel. $60.
What? It's a rip-off.
You can get bent.
Jeez.
Why take a pile driver from the Hulk? You can just buy his overpriced merch instead. The beer won't give you a headache, but the merch price will, brother.
What you gonna do? All right.
I'm doing it out of the can. Screw a glass. There ain't no glass for this.
Yeah, I shouldn't do it out of a glass either.
No. You got to crush that in a can and smash it against your head when you're done.
I'm so happy we could find this. Yep. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers, brother.
Hey, Blake, we have 10 more beers we can send you.
Ship some up to you?
Oh, yeah, I'll ship you some heady topper, and you can send me that.
That's a fair trade.
That's 100% a fair trade. We can give you two for the price of one.
I'll tell you what, I'll send you the heady topper. You keep it. That's a fair trade. Cheers, gents.
This is going to get terrible warm. This is going to be so bad warm.
So
this is going to be terrible warm.
What happened to the rest of the flavor of the beer?
This tastes like a Mick Ultra.
But a Mick Ultra has a finish.
Does it?
This sweetens off and disappears. You get the bitterness up front. You get a little bit of hop up front. Then it disappears into some sort of honey, light honey flavor, and then evaporates.
The 8 beer was a lot better.
Was way better.
Yeah.
I think I might have won out on this one.
That's also why we have a second beer.
This is going to be terrible coming back up.
It's the beer that's so nice.
This is, I kid you not, that what I got transported back to? Buying cheap beer from the mart that never carded you when you were in high school. So getting Natty Light, the Beast,
Keystone,
getting
whatever.
Keystone. This is right up there in that alley.
And unequivocally, the Brutal Game and all its affiliates do not recommend anyone under the age of 21.
No, we do not. No, we do not. Allegedly that happened in high school.
Right.
Allegedly.
We stand a dark example of why you should not.
Allegedly.
This is so I can't say that it's bad because the flavors that you get are okay up front.
Yeah.
But then the beer kind of disappears on you. And it
is a light lager. It's
But you said more like a Mick Ultra than even like a Miller Lite. Like
correct.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. But yeah, where like the 8 beer we had was more of just a lager.
Yeah.
It wasn't so much a light lager. It was more of just a lager.
Well, I will say on my end, this is a very standard pumpkin ale that does the thing of not overdoing it. It's the natural pumpkin flavor. So it tastes like, not syrupy, not artificial, but at 7%, I will say aged in those rum barrels, just like the description said, it smooths this out really well. It makes me wish they would make a rum aged pumpkin one from Southern Tier.
Oh yeah.
Which I almost brought on this pod too. And if I need a second beer, that's what I'm going to have.
I can't say that
This was quite tasty.
I can't say that I like it.
I mean, I'm gonna try to drink this thing as fast as I can because once it gets warm, I
want to wait for it to get warm. I want to see. Is it?
That's what's his nuts name? The guy who Dogfish Sammy. Whatever his name is. Always said. Like, that's how you can tell the cheap beer from the good. Is you just wait till it gets warm. If it still tastes good. Oh my god! I love that you guys are setting up a studio with that crazy ass box.
Flip it because you get the logo on the can. And the packaging on that on the backside
for the America. This is brilliant. Oh God.
Oh dear heaven.
I was looking for this beer the minute I did the beer news.
4.2%. I don't know if we said that.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what is also 4.2%?
Guinness.
I want to say Pacifico and Guinness too. Extremely well done beers.
Man, this one's really good. This is a tasty one. Well, from that red, white, and blue beer, let's move it over to the red, white, and blue matches of the uniforms that enter red, white, and sky blue, I guess we should say. As the big match to talk about is the big match. It was the title Titan match in the making over of the past season or two as it lived up to its hype on Sunday. This, of course, would be Man City versus Arsenal. As these two England powerhouses duked it out in a thrilling, hard-fought match that ended 2-2 at the Emirates. Holland opened the scoring with the 9th minute when he got behind Gabriel on a lovely through ball, Savino. Then a little over 10 minutes later, a screamer from new hair god of the Premier League. Let's give it up for Riccardo Calafiore's hair. What a great name. Calafiore, you have to have good hair with that name. Tied at 1 apiece. Then for a second weekend running, center back Gabriel headed the ball over just before half to make it 2-1 to Arsenal on the road. But the match changes just 7 minutes later before the whistle for the half blue as Leandro Trossard was sent off with a second yellow for kicking the ball away. Down a man in for the whole of the second half. Arsenal packed it in and almost saw it the win, but the substitute John Stones had other ideas as he netted a 98th minute winner with virtually, or not a winner, but a 98th minute tire with virtually the last kick of the match to send the Etihad crowd into jubilation for walking away with a point and a draw. All right, gents, what do we make of a match that'll probably we probably won't see too many more like that this season? That was a pretty good one, I think, even for the neutrals if you weren't following either club.
Calafiore's current goal of the season, I think.
Probably shouldn't have even counted, but yes. Not from the strike, but from the play before that in terms of a weird, and I was trying to figure out at the time what Man City were arguing. But, I don't know. Regardless, you can't take anything away from the strike, and I don't think that was one of the main talking points of the game when all things considered, because a strike of that would have been a shame if it was pulled back for something that was so kind of iffy to begin with. Kind of weird, but no, what an absolutely lovely strike.
I mean, this match kind of had it all, right? It had the elements of you thinking City's going to just run right through Arsenal with such a quick score that was kind of so predictable, right?
Holland goal in the first 10 minutes.
And he splits the defenders and, has this great ball through, takes it on the off touch. You don't expect that's the foot he's gonna shoot it with, and he does.
And I was listening to some podcast, and I don't remember who it was, so forgive me, but they said, what the good, Holland could score not only with both feet, but what he did there was he took the shot early to not allow Raya to get the positioning of where he could be, so that the defender could come in and Raya can kind of shut off all of that positioning. He took it early enough, took it to the near post, which is extremely hard to stop, especially when you take it that early and that quick.
And so you kind of think like, oh, Man City's just going to waltz through this. But Arsenal really came back, handled their own, grew into the game. Man City, kind of let them into the game. Now, a portion of that, right, could be the Rodri injury. So Rodri has contact with Havertz.
This was at the kickoff.
Yeah.
Yes, kind of took a forearm, I guess, to the back shoulder blade, right? If I'm not mistaken.
But somehow he tears his ACL.
Well, that was
right?
No, that was a few minutes later on a corner in the box. Him and Partey, minimal contact.
That's right.
Minimal, not anything you can really, especially with what went on in there during this game and what goes on in there most corners.
Right.
And he kind of almost instantly went down. So could it have been aggravated by the first play?
Maybe. Sure.
And mind you, it should be noted, Rodri's been very vocal over the past few weeks about the amount of games they've had to play,
right,
about all players and the current, just what the modern day players being asked to, not
right,
just Premier League players, not just that, but from somebody that's been so integral in Spain for the Euros, these long Champions League runs, all these cup games, summer tours, yada, yada, yada. Right. Rodri had not played except for the last match. But prior to that, he did not play for the first 3 weeks. He wasn't even on the bench. He came off the bench, I think, in the last match, and this was his first start in a game this season.
Right. And so I think so where I'm headed with that is maybe one of the only reasons Arsenal can get back into this match is because that is a massive midfield loss for Manchester City, right? He's pulling the strings. He's good at protecting where he needs to protect. He's got great vision. Arsenal were able to really find their legs in this match and then make it count when they needed to.
Yeah, and Rodri does so much of those intangibles, if you will, of the position of the number 6. He possesses the ball well. He sees the field well. He protects that back four. He's a constant kind of cog in the wheel for what City do. Can they survive without him? Sure, but it's going to be much harder. You look at the game that Arsenal won 1-0 last year when it was at the Emirates, I believe. Rodri was suspended because of a card. So you see. Now in this, there was no Odegaard on the other side, and that's been very evident in the last 3 games that Odegaard, since coming back from the international break, that lack of creativity, that lack of, I think Saka's kind of hurting from that creativity of what Odegaard brings, that they're having to score on these set-piece goals, be very defensive. We certainly saw that in the second half when they're playing down a man. But they're having to figure out other ways to score goals and other ways to win. And they did that for the rest of the first half. Yeah. They essentially did that.
And, it's wild when you have a draw for Man City that feels like a victory for them. But Guardiola is furious with the refs and said that from here on, he's going to ask his players to ignore the referees when they say, come talk to them. Because his thing on that Calafiori goal is that they were called back to talk to the ref, and then he didn't let them get back in position.
Right.
And he's livid about that. So it's funny to have referee stuff on both sides of this.
Oh yeah,
come out.
I mean, it was Arteta the other way for being for being sent off. What essentially happened was it was a second yellow to Alessandro Trossard. I think everybody thought it was a foul.
Was the previous foul, right?
It was a foul. So he was already on a card. We went up with the challenge with Bernardo Silva, and in my opinion, went right into his back. Wasn't playing the ball worthy of a foul. Maybe deemable of a second yellow or just a yellow card in general. What he actually got was after he did that, he kicked the ball away after the whistle had already gone. So foul for the whistle. He kicked the ball away. That's what he got the card for. A lot of argument there. Well, Doku did that earlier in the game and wasn't carded. Yeah. And that's perfectly fair. And the consistency, right? We saw that with Declan Rice a few weeks back. And we saw that earlier in that game. Yep. So, but you got to keep in mind, though, too, with Declan Rice, with this, it's the second yellows. Even if Doku got carded, that would have been his first yellow. So he's not losing a player. Yeah. So it's those type of things, to keep in mind. And it's something that I think Arteta and staff have to kind of, they've now have 2 red cards for players kicking the ball away, whether small, minuscule, or whatnot. Referees in general are going to look for that now from Arsenal because they're now doing it. Every team does it. It's not just pointing at Arsenal, but that certainly has to be coached into them now, or at least taught into them by, whoever that, hey, be very careful of this because now they're homing in on us essentially because we've had 2 players.
And that's a hard habit to break, right?
100% it is.
They've been playing this way with being allowed to be frustrated in the moment, even if they don't agree with the call and kick the ball away or whatever. There was no, when Trossard was playing academy game, there was none of that.
No.
So he's got this habit basically, kind of bred into him. And all the players
all the players do, yeah.
Right?
But that wasn't a super egregious one.
Well, neither was the Declan Rice. Now, the Declan Rice one, I think, indifference was it was a little bit more cheekier. He knew what he was doing, and he kind of purposely did it. This one was more seemed out of like just the frustration of getting the foul, which that's, I think, to the point that Ron said, it's hard to break, right? Because in a moment of frustration, your first thing is going to be to want to, gosh darn it, and kick the ball away or whatever you're saying.
And it's like he thought he was getting yellow for the foul.
Right, exactly. Right. So it's not that like they're booting the ball across the damn field in a way. It's a tap. It's that moment of instant frustration, which to your point, Ron, is just hard to break.
Yeah. And Arteta came out saying what he expects to see, a lot more 10v11 and 10v9 games because every team should be getting carded
if they're consistent with it. Yeah.
Carded for this. And I agree in the respect of the consistency is lacking.
Well, and that's been with with offside call, which everything over the
handball,
past
VAR.
8 years that we've been doing this pod. It's not that the calls are necessarily wrong or bad or to the letter of the law or anything like that. It's the consistency at which those are called. Some games, we can let it go. Some games, we need to card. Well, which is it going to be? It's that whole it's the start of the game. It's the end of the game. Well, I'll call it at the start of the game, but I won't call it at the end of the game type of thing. It's that consistency there.
Yeah. And then, of course, we have the Holland housery throughout the middle and end of the match.
Well, to lead up to it, Gabriel and Holland, the past few times they played, have really just battled each other. Holland scored the first goal, essentially beating Gabriel to the ball. Gabriel scored the second goal for Arsenal to make it 2-1 off a corner, which that one probably shouldn't have counted either. I was listening to the counterattack show, and Tony Mo was saying that goalie got picked if you watch that, and clearly got picked. But take nothing away from what Gabriel and what the set pieces of Arsenal are doing, because they're putting their players in some phenomenal spots, and he's becoming such a huge set piece threat. He just pounded. I mean, nothing take away from that. You can look at why the goalie wasn't able to maybe get there, but I don't think with how he came around and
he wasn't going to get there, even though he was picked. I
don't think so either. But it could have been called for a foul, and that's what VAR looked at right after the game. But so he scores that goal, Gabriel scores that goal, and they're just battling all game. Then you go to your point in the 98th minute. There was 90 plus 7.
Right.
Which probably should have been more because Arsenal were pulling out all stops. They were 2 banks of 5. They were there. They're going to the ground. Raya spending an extra a minute just hanging on
fingernails, and you could tell they were so tired at the end.
Oh, absolutely, because they were working their socks off.
Because defending your half, a person down for a half
against Man City of all teams is
an extraordinarily tiring thing to do. and they managed to do it. And
all the way up to the very end.
Small blink of a lapse in concentration, and that ball goes in the back.
And I don't even know if it's a lapse in concentration. It's just like sometimes the ball just bounces around in there, and that's what you get.
I remember I was like huddling in a spot in work listening to it on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
97th minute, Kai Havertz almost scores.
He did. He did. Yep.
That's it. Because it was going to, and that's the bit where they had pushed forward just enough. And of course, I'm not seeing it. I'm listening. I'm like, they're going to score right here. And like, score. I was like, yep, called it. Cut off the radio. Like, I mean, not even watch just because you knew me. There was a chance there. You go for it. But really, you probably, I don't know, you play the ball back, you hold on to it, whatever. But
take it to the corner.
Yeah. I mean, like, I have a problem with the commentary of like, Gary effing Neville, like, well, there's Arsenal. What a down the crapper. And you're like, whoa. How does Arsenal blows it and they're terrible, down 10 men, hold on to a lead and then draw against Man City at the Emirates? Can you tell me why that's not the reverse? That Man City can't finish off a 10-man Arsenal at home?
Right.
Yeah, no, I don't fully disagree with you there. I think it was because it was Arsenal from a point of being 2-1 up. And it wasn't Gary Neville. I was listening to Sirius XM, Tom Rennie, and I want to say, I don't remember who his co-commentator is, but the point that that one of them were making is, Arsenal weren't even thinking about trying to attack in that second half. They weren't even. They got it. It would be they would get the ball. It wouldn't even complete a pass. They weren't even thinking about going forward. But to what the commentator's saying is, if they go forward once and they have a corner, they have so much more of a chance to score off the corner to make it 3-1. Now it's even harder. So it was like, I mean, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. And the plan almost worked out. It just
this fan was like, you Jose Mourinho, Joe, right now. You park that bus and you don't move. I mean, like,
and it almost worked.
Yeah. I would have thought the same thing. If it had been the 97th minute and we got a corner, I'd have been like, oh God, they're going to score on a counter. You know, because it's just too many players. I think that's a real
tough
Monday quarterbacking thing to say against Man City,
because Arsenal were a minute away, if that, from seeing that game out 2-1, instead it becomes 2-2, and that's one of those draws that could be very pivotal down the line, right? Both teams don't get 2 points, but City gain a point, Arsenal essentially lose 2. So it's that you get a draw. Some draws feel like a win, some draws feel like a loss. Some draws feel like, This was because of how hard Arsenal worked in that second half to propel attacks, and they did it perfectly. I can't tell you how many times I kept hearing on that Sirius XM commentary, and it goes to Diaz again, the center back, and he shoots and he just bombs it wide, or just it skyrockets, and they're like, Arsenal are going to give him that all day long. He's not putting any on frame. He's just whacking out of the ball and just hoping it gets on goal. But they played it perfectly to do that, and you could tell Pep was getting, I don't say frustrated, but he
was frustrated. He kicked his
chair.
But
that was in the first half, right? That was in the first half. And in the second half, it was more like, we can't break them down. How are we going to do this? And it was actually the substitute, John Stones, that actually got on to the end of that ball, right? And John Stones is a center back by trade.
Right.
But
just got a good thrash behind it.
But got in there, ball bounced around. It was a save by Ray, bounced around and kind of got parried and got in there. So they eventually broke it down, even with putting on a Phil Foden and those types that are a little bit more creative and can shoot from outside the box there. Just that constant pressure. I think when you look at the stats at this beer's coming back up. Sorry, Jones. Oh, here we go.
I think the stats would have told you Man City should have been up 3.
All right, so ball possession, 77%, 23%. I guess you can probably guess who the 77% was. Expected goals, we love those around here, don't we?
That's such a lame.
Arsenal scored 2, but guess what? They only have a .67 expected goals.
Right.
It makes a boatload of sense.
Yeah, because the second half they didn't take a shot.
Right.
So stupid.
And Man City had 2.18 expected goals. Okay. Total shots, 33 for Man City. Shots on target, 11. Big chances, 5. Big chances missed. City win, but that's just not a good thing. Rated 2. Accurate passes, 91% by Man City. I will say this, a stat came out afterwards. Kai Havertz becomes like the first outfield player to play an entire game with 0 completed successful passes or something like that. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's a random ass stat. Fouls committed, corner. It was pretty much, you look here on FOTMob, the site we use for a lot of the stats. They're absolutely fantastic, but it's all sky blue for pretty much everything. And yet still the game 2-2.
So look, Premier League teams. Man City's beatable.
Sure. Every team's beatable, though.
They are, but I think there's an inevitability about Man City that I don't think has to be. I think this match proves that. I predict they will lose and draw more than they did last year. I realize you only have to do a couple of those to be 100% increase, but I do think they will have more than last year.
No, I agree, and I think that every team can do that in a way. I think City, though, it felt like Pep feels it and the squad feels it. Mind you, was it a week ago Monday, the trial of the 115 charges or however much started?
Right.
It's all behind closed doors. We're not going to hear a lot about it until things start to kind of come out in the news of what the punishment or lack thereof is going to be. But you have that weighing on them. You have a couple of deals, and you have Pep in his last year of his deal. You have Gundogan coming back. You have Rondry not playing. Kyle Walker started his first game. And you have all of these things that were like the season just kind of became. Plus now you're trying to go again for a fifth title in a row. You have these charges hanging up. So just a lot going on right there, right now amongst some brilliant players and one of the best teams the Premier League's ever seen. So it's going to be such an interesting season to see how it plays out for not only them, Arsenal, but those teams that are going to compete for top spot.
Like, you should have the last word.
Nobody likes City. Screw those guys. All right, moving on.
Oh, yeah, brother.
All right. Now for the rest of the Premier League. For match week 5, we ask one question and or make some smart-ass comments as we go through our 2-minute drill.
And Ron, you have to read word for word this one.
This is a free country. I'm drinking an American beer.
Yes,
my
you
friend.
are.
I can say what I want.
But I write the content.
All right. So as it's written, my boy Nick Jackson books himself a 20-minute brace and dances the Thriller before Cole Palmer. He's all right, I guess. I do miss Conor Gallagher, though. As Chelsea beat London rivals West Ham 3-0 to start the Premier League weekend. 7:30 morning on the East Coast on Saturday. Man, do I love Nick Jackson. And I'm never offside. So, I don't love Nick Jackson. I will say that he is finding some form that he should have already had. So I am at least happy that the goal production is coming and he's offsides just a little less. Only 2 offsides in this match when normally he averages 4 per match.
Sure. I will tell you, I got a text that morning from a friend of the pod, Joe, and one of his daughters is starting soccer. And he said, she's out here playing soccer at 8:30. At least I missed Chelsea win for this. And I said, she's better than Jackson and less offside. You're better for it.
I mean, you're not wrong. Chelsea's on a bit of an upswing. You can see what Maresca's trying to do. So there is a bit of hope. I don't expect that we are back by this result. But an interesting stat before I turn it over for you guys to chat. Cole Palmer and his connection with Nicholas Jackson are the league's best offensive partnership. Which, that's a stat that doesn't sound like it should be right, but it is.
2 goals and an assist by Jackson in this. A goal and an assist by Cole Palmer in this.
So
just a goal from him.
Since the start of the season, Palmer and Jackson have had 22 chances, which resulted in 10 goals. It's the best in the Premier League currently.
There you go.
Man City isn't till number 11. Haaland, De Bruyne, 22 chances, 5 goals scored. And Foden, Rodri, 22 chances, 5 goals scored. Saka, Havertz, 26 chances created, 7 goals scored. So it doesn't sound like it should be true, but it is.
I'll be damned.
And I just took up all the minutes, so sorry about your luck, gentlemen.
Villa may have gone down early to Wolves via a goal by Matthias Cunha, but it was all Aston Villa in the second half as Oli Watkins, Urze Konza, and super sub John Duran all net in the second half to make it 3-1 on the day. You know, Duran's been fantastic in the past few weeks. Some huge goals, probably the goal of the season, actually, the last week. But should Duran start or continue to come off the bench and score bangers?
I've hit the buzzer on this one. As an Arsenal fan, no, keep your Leandro Trossard as a super sub because whenever you start them, it never goes as well.
So come off the bench and hit bangers is your vote.
Yes, if it's working, don't break it, man. Don't break it.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. Like they have a working formula. Keep it until you have to change it.
I would agree, except purely just selfishly. Can you think of the amount of Duran quotes that I can get out of him starting?
I was a little shocked there wasn't one for this, to be honest.
I mean,
listen,
why
I can't blow the wad too early here. I gotta.
Why does it have to be him starting? Do it every time he scores a goal.
That's true.
You don't have to worry about him starting.
Yeah, every time he starts, you got to find a Duran title that works with that.
I mean, the reason, look.
Okay, so every time he scores a goal, we'll agree on that. And then we're all in agreement. So he should come off the bench and just score these bangers.
And the reason he should come off the bench is because when you're hungry like a wolf, you just go get it.
Love it.
That is your first one. You're welcome.
Fulham shock Newcastle at Craven Cottage as two former Arsenal boys, Emile Smith-Rowe and Reece Nelson, see out a 3-1 win against, at the time, the top 4 Newcastle team. Surprised by the result here, gentlemen?
Yeah.
Yes and no. Yes and no. I feel like I am waiting for Newcastle to really hit a stride this season, but they haven't been. So they've been so inconsistent. I'm not really that surprised.
I say I am surprised that Fulham came out so strong. I am not surprised that Newcastle screwed the pooch because, as Ron said, they've been so inconsistent.
Yeah, but they haven't been inconsistent this year.
Sure they have.
Not this year, but not this season.
They have.
No, they haven't. They won one.
I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about your wins, how you win, and the form that they have, the play, the connectivity.
Sure.
All that has been woefully inconsistent.
That's their first loss.
Yeah, they've had a draw.
Yeah, and then they've had 3
their
wins.
Wins have been mostly scrape by, not anything commanding.
Yeah. I mean, they beat Tottenham. They beat Wolves. Beat the powerhouse that is Southampton. But, I mean...
They drew to the Cherries and they drew to Nottingham.
Nottingham's proven to be quite... Well, we'll get there in a little bit. But, I think this was a surprise. Fulham...
I don't think so.
At home, it was pretty much all Fulham in this. You see what their new boys are kind of doing in there. Jimenez got himself a goal. Manuel Smith-Rowe got himself a goal. That Reece Nelson one came off of a complete, just what was Bruno Gigamarsh doing at the end of the game there? But it was pretty much all Fulham. They were frustrating Newcastle. Newcastle, to Ron's point, just didn't look fluid and that strong on the road.
They really haven't looked that way the whole season. Is kind of my point. They are scratching out wins, right? And that's important. Mm-hmm. But none of the wins are convincing. None of the wins are they're still so disjointed in attack. The midfield looks confused and doesn't necessarily always protect the backfield. There's so much inconsistency in their play that
despite not a terrible run of results, I agree with you. They just don't look as dangerous as they did last year to me.
Yeah.
And
once again, Everton cannot see out a lead as they give up a 73rd minute goal to Leicester City as the match ends a 1-1 draw. Now, Ferris's question is, what match week do you think it'll be when Everton finally get their first win of the season? But I think really the information is what's in their immediate future now that they are going to be allegedly bought out by the Fienken Consortium.
Fienken-Franken Consortium?
I mean, I think, to be honest, I think you might see a bit before they draw a victory, or they were rough last year. Good. They feel resigned to relegation, and it's been 5 weeks.
They've been up 2 goals in a few different games here now. They were up a goal in this game. I mean, they have Palace next at home, Newcastle at home. Then they go away to Ipswich, host Fulham, and away to Southampton. It might not be until November.
Yeah,
and that's that Southampton game. I mean, it could be a while. And the new ownership doesn't feel all warm and fuzzy in a way.
I know,
It's
right?
been rocky. They've had some failed ones by 777.
And
it's been on. It's been off. It's been
middle of building a
new stadium that's set to open next year, which looks gorgeous. But it's just, and they could be playing that new stadium for the first year in the championship. I mean, it just, the new ownership doesn't feel great.
Yeah,
and until it gets approved by the league, which
Right.
it's still not, so it's not officially thing.
Right,
but they were in it once, they backed out, so it just whole thing just feels
and they have
worrisome.
They have so much debt. They're in the middle of trying to pay off and finish this stadium, which still has a couple of $1 million worth of stuff that's got to get done to it. It just, to be honest, I don't know why you buy it. I don't know why you buy the club. There's so much going wrong with it financially.
Yeah.
It better be.
No, it's not Sheikh Mansour. Who's the owner?
Philip Mazzari or somebody.
That's it. And he's got all kinds of crazy, weird business dealings with the Abu Dhabi, and it's just the whole thing's screwed up.
But it's still like you said, it's still the agreement has been reached with the Texas-based Friedkin Group, but it still sounds weird when you look at the news. Like there's still issues going on. I don't know.
And they're all about this multi-club. It's not a circuit.
No, they own another.
They own AC Roma.
Yes.
The ones
AS
that hired AS Roma, who hired Jose Mourinho and all that. And 9 months ago, they were the most popular owners in Italy. And not anymore.
No, and Roma just fired their legend of the club, and Daniela De Rossi, who's manager. But they did beat Udinese 2-1 on the weekend. Oof. Anyways. Slots men get back on winning ways as a brace by Luis Diaz and a lovely strike by Darwin Núñez, of all folks, down Bournemouth 3-0 at Anfield. Will Núñez kick on from here, or is it still Jota's job to lose?
Still Jota's.
I agree. He's just such a poacher.
Yeah. I think Núñez would get some good shouts for European play and stuff like that, but.
And he's inconsistent.
I think
he misses these sitters.
He hits these bangers and misses the sitters, essentially.
You know what's? I feel like the more Núñez has time to think,
absolutely,
the worse he is at goal.
I was just telling Jared, for friend of the pod, that we were out on Sunday to watch games, and he had asked something like that. He's like, "Why? How can Núñez score that one, but not score these easy ones?" And I'm like, "Because he's not thinking about it in those ones. When you have a little too much time, or it's so wide open, you're thinking so much about it that you're just psyching yourself out, or what could go wrong does go wrong. Where that you just hit the ball,
you just too much
instinctively
time.
just hit it. Yeah,
it's crazy."
Look, we had nothing else to say about that one.
Yep.
New boy, Southampton and Ipswich play out a A 1-1 draw on the end with the goals occurring in the 5th and 95th of this one. 18-year-old Tyler Dibbling, which let me tell you what, that is a name straight out of a BBC comedy right there. Old right. Tyler Dibbling. What's your name, mate? Tyler Dibbling. I got teeth the Druids could use as a place of worship. They got Southampton's goal here. Remember the name. I don't think Southampton's going to survive. I can't remember if Ron voted for him to get relegated. If he did, they will survive.
I did vote for them this time.
I think we all did.
But I still feel like Ipswich has got a better shot at this down the road than Southampton does. I don't know.
They're both. Ipswich is just out of the relegation zone.
They're in 17th, 3 draws in their past 5.
They have 2 more points than Southampton, as this was their first draw, so first point of the season. Southampton's a tricky one. They played United the week before last, and that's when Dibbling made his first start, and he did a fantastic job. But I don't know if there's a whole lot of other talent like that on Southampton that's going to push them forward. Because while he's a talent, got a goal in this, and very, he's probably going to get sold on here in the next year or two. But he's not a striker, and he has to create himself and drive forward and come in from the wing. That he's going to have to do a lot of that work at such a young age that he's not going to be consistent at it that much that you would think. But certainly remember that name, and we'll see where Southampton go. But yeah, I think we all have them going down there.
Dominic Solanke gets his first for the club as Brennan Johnson shakes off the goalless ghosts of the North London derby, and James Maddison adds a third for good measure as Tottenham beat Brentford 3-1. Good win here for Tottenham.
I don't know if it was a good win. I think it was a must win, especially coming off of a very just drab performance against Arsenal the week before that.
It did not look good when Brentford scored so fast. And
a lovely goal. Yeah. First minute goal.
2 wins, 2 losses, and a draw in their last 5. And I think Tottenham is still unproven.
Yeah, the good thing here is that they got all 3 of their main scorers, their main players on the score sheet here.
Yeah.
So, that's a positive. If you get them rolling, that can be a dangerous for front 3. Now, they had 3 goals, and their expected goals was 3.52.
Oh, expected
goals. I know.
goals.
That stat says it all right there, gentlemen.
Jesus.
I don't know. There's a wild inconsistency. I actually think the Spurs-Man United game should be fairly interesting to see which club.
This weekend, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they need a good run of confidence, right? Just seems like Tottenham look like Eeyore feels.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so you're just, even when they're excited about winning, it's not like they're overly jubilant. They're just kind of like, yeah, we won. We scored a goal. There's nothing, I don't know. There's nothing exciting about watching them play anymore.
Not yet.
They have lost some luster. I know last year you had the Aussie rules out there, but they've definitely. It's easy. I know I'm an Arsenal fan to say this, but there is a danger that when Brentford scored that fast, you're just like, oh, these guys might be fine. There's a lack of danger. I feel like right now when a team sees them on the schedule, we'll see if they can change that.
What better way than to get them out of their Eeyore than play Man United this weekend? Man United should have been up by a few by half, but good old former goalkeeper Jordan Henderson didn't let that happen, and a lovely double save by new goalkeeper Andre Onana for Man United in the second half kept this match goalless in a 0-0 at Selhurst Park. With as many big chances as United have created so far in the league, I want to say it's number 1 so far in the league. Just why can't they not score?
Well, and I'm surprised Crystal Palace didn't score in that match. They've been on a pretty good goal streak. But yeah, the inability for Man United to score, you haven't. How many goals scored against you so far?
Good question. I don't think it's been too many. This is the third shutout already of the season. Yeah,
5 goals against.
3 of them were in the Liverpool game. 2 of them were in the Wolves game because it ended 2-1. So not terrible, not quite. Definitely not the start that they had last season. But it was all United in the first half. They look organized. Garnacho was getting behind. A little weird that Rashford didn't get the start there. I did think Ten Hag handled it well. But they just hit the post, they hit the crossbar, they had chances. Second half, I don't want to say it was a completely different story because United still had chances, but I would say that Crystal Palace had the better chances in the second half on just pure counter ability. So, United probably should have been up 3-0 at half. And then that's going in the second half. Now all they're going to do is counter to try to get back in the game. That's how it felt. But the score was still 0-0. So 1 goal goes in either way, and that could have been just, so it was a very weird game. Not a terrible game from either club. A great half by one, okay half by the. It was odd, and in the end, 0-0, probably a goalie's game in this, absolutely. And United drew today 1-1 against FC Twente in Europa League play. So it's finding that goal scoring, and we'll see, because that goal scoring at this point is going to be what Ten Hag needs to stay in a job.
Look, Man United have not been confident in the attack for quite some time, even before this season. I mean, last season, Rashford had what is probably the most dismal season of his career.
After coming off one of the best of his career.
And there is the confidence quicksand is hitting United really hard. And the more they try to struggle and try and force it to happen, the worse it gets for them.
Yeah, and that was definitely the case last season. I don't think it's quite there yet this season, but it's definitely not at full tilt.
But you can just see it mounting, right?
Especially in this game, yeah, sure.
This is all happening again to us, right? So they need to find some confidence. They need to find,
They'll find it in Tottenham. Or Tottenham will find it in them. One of the two.
I was going to say that's a very similar thing I would have said about Tottenham, and they're both playing each other next week. So that'll be interesting. It's a big old 0-0 or 1-1, but it was
5-5.
But it was both on goals,
Yeah, on goals. Oh.
Brighton and Nottingham played out a wild 2-2 draw, but not before a heavy challenge by Morgan Gibbs-White for a sending off, followed by 2 more red cards handed out to each manager. What an appetizer to the big match of the day, eh? Reds all around. That was a fun one at the end.
Oh, the end was just nuts.
And listen, Wood took it to the blue pill as that 13th minute pen got the affair going. He got the night started just fine there. I got to throw that in, I got to.
Yeah, I was surprised there was no Wood headline in there.
No, it was just wild. We had gotten done with our pub league game and had just gotten to the deli to watch the other big match, and when the end of this was on, and almost as we walked in, it was the card to Gibbs, and you see the managers going at it kind of on the sideline there, and with each other and players and everything else, and they get sent off, and it was just kind of a hectic, wild end of the game, and that was how it ended, just 2-2. And you were like, what? Okay.
Like, wait, that's the end? And also, it was so weird because you didn't realize the managers were sent off. You saw a red card given, and then the shot on screen is you see the ref walk off toward one of the managers and deliver a card, but you don't actually see it on the screen. So you're like, wait, who just got red? And everything was like you were catching up so far after the events that it just made the whole thing so weird.
Gentlemen, here's probably the bigger news from this game, though. With this draw, that Nottingham basically snatched away, at the end. This draw has Nottingham sitting in 8th. Granted, we're only 5 matches in, but they're sitting in 8th place right now with a total of 9 points. Without looking, do you know what their total points were last year?
Oh, I mean, they just barely escaped.
I'll go 19.
Relegation, right? So I'm going to say 21.
32. They are almost a third into scoring as many points as they.
It's all wood, baby.
You got to love it.
But I'm just saying, like, so this rounds around to some of this Everton and Southampton conversation, as well as the Wolves. Like, I think a few clubs that, you think, well, hopefully, if you're one of those clubs, you can get above them. Man, they just keep doing what they're doing, and Nottingham could end in a 15th place easily and not be sweating.
Easily, yep.
Yeah.
I don't think that they can stay in the top 10, but I'll tell you what, God, if they could stay around that spot for the season, they've been scrappy this year, man.
They certainly have.
All right, now it is time, as the halftime whistle has been blown, to go to all the news that's fit to drink with Ron's Beer News.
Excellent. So before we get into the beer news, I would like to introduce our second beer. Ferris, if you wouldn't mind opening the beer fridge.
Do I have to like close my eyes and grab it?
That's fine. I just didn't want you to see what they were.
If this is some Randy Savage, I'm going to be very excited.
Hilarious. No, this is a Festbier because, gentlemen, Oktoberfest started on the 21st.
Sure did.
Which was
fun.
4 days ago. One of my favorite German wheat beers is from a brewery called Tucher Brau. And Blake knows Tucher very well because we used to meet up when Blake and I lived together. We used to meet up after he had some, I forget what theater it was here in town.
The Mark II Dinner Theater.
That's it.
The Starlight Dinner Theater.
That's it. Starlight. That's what I remembered it as. And we would show up and meet him after shows at this kind of eatery right outside the theater. And they had Tucher on draft. And I would just guzzle that stuff. So
as
good.
Well as each table had a giant jar of awesome pickles.
Yep.
And I would kill for one of their Tuchers in a tall glass with a slice of orange and that jar of pickles in front of me right now.
So I found Tucher's Festbier.
Heck yeah.
Oh, wow. I've never had that before. Jax's Deli, Ron. That was the name.
Jax, right. Jax.
Yep.
Yeah. So Tucher, they,
cool.
like I said, they make an incredible Hefeweizen. They're out of Nuremberg, Germany. This Festbier is a 5.8 ABV, and it is a Hell's Lager, not a Marzen. And again, some of my favorite beers come out of this place. So when I saw it in the store, I thought, this is the way to go.
Heck yeah. And it's cool down here. It says brewed in accordance with Bavarian purity law.
Remember what that's called?
The Reinskebut.
The Reinskebut.
Reinheinskebut.
Yeah, that is right. I was like, man, we've heard that on the pod before. Heck yeah.
So we had to give this one a try.
Looking forward to this. And
it's the first time I've ever seen
it. Guaranteed to be 10 times better than that last beer.
Yeah, my intention was to get to the Oktoberfest happening over at that German joint near me when everything kicked off. But it runs through what, October 2nd, right?
Well, we're going to go into that because that's the beer news today.
Perfect segue.
All right. So, gentlemen, Oktoberfest kicked off on September 21st, goes to the 6th of October. And I'm calling it now. Next year, we as the pod are going to Munich.
Planet, absolutely.
We are going to drink heavily, and we're going to do a pod from the beer fest. There's no more of this, well, let's try. There's no more of this, well, maybe if my schedule just clear it.
2025 is the year.
We're doing it.
I love it. Gonna be in Germany, not near the piss hill. Set up a little booth. They stick us in a corner.
So in the words of one of my favorite Canadians, quit pickling and get your schedule straight. Okay, so
man said it the best. I will add that the coolest thing about Oktoberfest coming around is I love when Bayern Munich put out their Oktoberfest kits and you see them all in the Lederhosen and they're all doing the first day thing. It's fun. Yeah, it's
so
fun.
Great. So, gentlemen, here's some we've covered on the pod on more than one occasion. We have covered what Oktoberfest is about and the tents and all that. So now I'm going to give you some fun facts that you don't hear every day about Oktoberfest, right?
Please do.
So only 6 breweries are allowed to take part, and they are the only traditional breweries in Munich.
Which we've gone over this before.
We've gone over that in the pod. And if you've listened to the pod or you know anything about it, Augustiner, Hackershore, Hofbrau, Lowenbrau, Paulaner, Spaten. That's them. It's basically a giant wedding reception for the royals. October 12th, 1810 was the first one. Oktoberfest lasts 16 to 18 days. 25 times this festival has been canceled due to diseases like COVID and cholera outbreaks, and war. So only 25 times since 1810.
Avoided the Black Plague in that time.
Yeah.
I see.
Good for them.
They're, that's what beer's for. The economic impact to Munich gains them $1.43 billion with a B dollars every year. That's
That's wild.
6.3 million attendees last year. 70% of those are Bavarians. 15% of those visitors are from abroad, and then the rest are from the rest of Europe and Asia. During that time, if you book a flight, it's a 220% increase in the cost of flights to get to Munich to go.
So we should probably book our flight like now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Or you book it into somewhere else and you do a weekend somewhere and then take the train.
You got to wait till Dortmund's got
That's
to
what
come
I
out
did.
so we can do that.
Gentlemen, how many gallons of beer do you think they drink in the 18 days of Oktoberfest?
75 gallons.
God, I feel like you say that again. How many
gallons
gallons
of beer is drank in the 18 days?
Hold on. 1.4 million.
70,000 is what I meant to say.
70,000
Gallons?
Gallons.
I don't know. That's a lot. Yeah, no, we can go higher than that.
Think about these.
70 million.
Yeah.
Sure.
1.98 million gallons of beer.
Like, what was your guess?
1.2?
1.4.
Oh, 1.4.
You were close, though. Okay.
All right. So real quick, let's take a pause so we can have this wonderful Hell's Lager.
And as I was at a Oktoberfest celebration, tiki-taka.
Oi, oi, oi.
Prost.
Man, my 6-year-old loves nothing more at the German restaurant when they bring out the boot to jump up on her chair and yell that with everybody. It's so happy.
This is what a beer should taste like.
Oh,
so
beautiful Festbier.
I prefer that style Festbier a lot.
I do. This Sierra Nevada one they have this season. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
That was almost in the pod. But Vostenhofers, their Festbier, that's that's one of my favorites.
Okay, so getting back to the facts here real quick. 1.98 million gallons of beer are expected to be consumed at $12.66 US per beer. So I'm going to dazzle you with some math.
All right.
As I normally do.
Sure.
There are 8 pints per gallon. And that essentially says $101 per gallon of beer. Thank God it's not gasoline.
Ooh.
Right. So now let's keep going on the math, right? So I rounded up. $102 is the price per gallon times, I'm rounding up, 2 million gallons. So a total cost of that beer is $204 million in beer drank over 18 days.
Good grief.
Lovely.
Isn't that awesome?
That's wild.
I love it. Also at the also at the festival, 717 cases, expected cases of alcohol poisoning, because people don't know when to stop drinking. And when I was there's plenty of vomit off to the sides.
That's
Plenty.
disgusting.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Was it all the English people?
It's all the foreigners.
Yeah.
That's true. I never saw a German person losing it. I saw lots of other people.
I almost sent you a little video online. I saw of a German guy, Rocky style, getting his English friend in shape for Oktoberfest, and he's like doing curls with the steins. It's awesome.
Oh, that's brilliant. So there is food served at these all these different tents. Gentlemen, how many chickens do you think are consumed during the 18 days?
I'm say 1.4 million was 1.8 was the gallons of beer. So like, I'm 1.2 little pullets, choppy heads off.
We say pounds or like
Chickens.
chickens?
How many individual chickens?
990,000.
Fair is closest to the pin with 510,000 chickens.
Way off. That's not even close.
That's closer than
closer than Blake. Yes.
That is not enough food eaten.
No, that's a big disparity.
Well, that's why there's so much cases of alcohol poisoning. How many sausages do you think people consume?
Is bratwurst into this too?
Yeah.
Okay.
That is close to 1 million.
It's over 1 million. I'm gonna go 1.5.
60,000.
All right, here we
Oh,
go.
wow.
You people got to eat more.
That's the burst-ass I've ever heard.
124 cows and 124,000 cows and 59,000 pork knuckles are consumed yearly.
If I had a nickel every time I heard that.
And none of those are my favorite.
No?
Nope.
What is your favorite?
Chicken schnitzel.
Chicken schnitzel.
You put it in a sandwich with some yellow mustard. And my God, that cures your drunken need for food in a moment.
Bingo, bango.
I do like some Wiener Schnitzel.
Who doesn't?
So, gentlemen, get your calendars ready because we are going 2025 and we're going to do an episode from the grounds of the Oktoberfest.
We're starting at 9 in the morning before they start serving.
And I am already working on getting press badges for us for next year.
Love it.
Okay.
Let's go.
Lord, if that happens, that's well,
Already.
okay. We're
Like locked in. We have to go at that point.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's a lock, and we'll have to get some new equipment, and we're just gonna like our blissed foreigner of the day, whatever. Like we'll have some fun with that.
So get ready. And that, gentlemen, is all the news that is fit to drink for this edition of the Beer News.
Now we are back in from halftime as we head on over to the La Liga's Roundup with Ferris.
All righty. Bit different one here. I don't think we said what the Liga's Roundup is, but it is going to be about the WSL, the Women's League in England. And before we do that, Ron's second birthday gift, the actual real one that I had bought before the very fun Dallas Lager shirt. That
it's faking great.
Yeah, it better not be misspelled.
No, this shirt I guarantee you have seen. It was a bit on of a back order, so you'll.
Oh. I've seen this shirt before.
But it'll tie into our next topic here.
What's the next topic? The Milan Derby?
Nope, the one that we're just getting ready to talk about.
Gotcha. Plastic.
Well, because it's brand new. I just got out of the
I'm not complaining.
Okay,
God,
okay.
relax. Everyone watches women's sports. Heck yeah.
That shirt rules.
It
That's
is,
awesome.
yeah, it is from the Together, which was started by a whole bunch of just phenomenal women athletes. Alex Morgan being one of those. You've seen the French versions of that for the Paris Olympics. You've seen Jason Sudeikis. You've seen all sorts of people wear those. They're hard to get kind of now. Like they go out of stock quickly.
Right.
And they sell out of them, but that was the initial.
That's awesome.
So
That's
sorry it was
a great
two
one.
shirts, but I couldn't
okay.
resist the other shirt.
No problem. I always wear shirts.
Yes, we do.
That's awesome. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I have to wear shirts and shoes for service, so it's
Yes, you
appropriate.
do. But the WSL did return, which is the top flight of women's football in England. It kicked off on Friday as Chelsea kicked off, listen to this, their first Emma Hayes-less season in over 12 years as they beat Aston Villa 1-0 via a lone goal by right wing Johan Ritten Kennard. I don't know if I said that right, but yeah, close enough. The weekend didn't end there, as hours before the big men's match of the day, Man City and Arsenal, the women of each, played out their own instant classic and set the tone for which was like a 2-2 draw, as former Arsenal player of 7 seasons, Vivian Adema, tied it up in the 42nd to make it 1-1 before Arsenal legend of 8 seasons, Beth Mead, tied it up in at 2 apiece in the 81st minute, and that's how it ended. And similar to their counterpart, men, who a few hours later ended 2-2, but that was certainly not the rest of the results from the opening weekend of the NWSL. I don't know why I put that for the score, but Man United beat West Ham 3-0 on the day. Good start for a good look United. Some very different players, different goalkeeper in net, but overall a very good win by the United 80s. Brighton beat Everton 4-0, and the question has to be asked, who's worse, the men or the women at Everton right now? Because
the men.
100%. Liverpool and Leicester 1-1 tied it up, and you know, if you look at the stats and how this game played out, Liverpool probably should have won this one as they dominated the match for large portions of this. And then finally, Tottenham put 4 up on London rival Crystal Palace, as Hayley Razzo, she is playing for Tottenham now, and a lovely New Zealand or Australian player.
I thought she was New Zealand.
I thought she was New Zealand. Opens up her account with her new club, and she scored early in that one, and Tottenham just took it to Palace, who, they had somebody sent off, but that was very, very late in the game, and after the game was well past them. So that's your opening weekend in the WSL. And gents, are you excited for this new season, which is being played on Paramount Plus? Certain games, not every game, but
yep.
But
I am quite excited, especially because Bam Pastor, who replaced Emma Hayes, she's won the French League 4 times. She's won Champions League. She's won a ton of stuff. It's interesting to watch how her the way her style of play is going to kind of get into the Chelsea ethos. I think
didn't she play for Chelsea and play for Hayes when she was manager?
Yes.
Yeah, wild.
So the interesting thing was that it wasn't for Chelsea. It wasn't a very convincing win. Aston Villa had the Lions' share of the possession, which is weird for Chelsea. So, like I said, not a convincing one, but it's the first match of the season. And I have to think that the Uniteds and Liverpool, Man City, I have to feel like they're a little bummed out that Chelsea won. Only in the respect that, Emma Hayes isn't here. And so we have a chance. And then they went and they won anyway.
Well, and this is still without Kerr.
Sure.
Who was not on the bench and did not play in this. She's still coming back fit. It's a good Chelsea team. Ellie Bright returns to the club after a very successful spell at Barcelona. And they are stacked, and they will absolutely be up there in the fight. And as you said, so are the Arsenals and Man City of the league. Those are your top 3, right? Top 4, maybe United, maybe Tottenham in there, but for the most part, it's top 3 in that league. And it is a fun league. It's a growing league too. You look at your Palaces,
who are newly promoted. This season.
Correct. Yep. And it is a fun watch. They sometimes will play, not all of them, but I think Arsenal this year will always play in the Emirates or thereabouts. They're playing a lot of games in there, more so than they have in seasons past.
It's a lot. I have to see if it's all of them or not.
Yeah, and the women's game in particular is growing, large part because of your Emma Hayes and what she's done with the club level, but also what the England ladies have done in the past few years in terms of the Euros and the World Cup. And it's one that if you have Paramount Plus, which you probably do, or at least you want, because it has the Champions League, it has the Europa League, it has the Serie A, it has Paramount League. Plus is doing a lot. Like, they're right up there. Like, NBC and Peacock has the Premier League, right? That's like, boom, that's the major one. But in terms of, if you have to get one other streaming service to show games, it is Paramount Plus, because of this Serie A, Europa League, Champions League, the NWSL is on there. So there's a lot on there. And this is a league that you can watch on Saturdays, Fridays, Sundays, played similar times to the men, and some very, very talented, fun players playing over there. And in the WSL, that continues to grow.
Did we talk at all about the whole change that the FA isn't doing the 2 top leagues for the women in England anymore?
I don't think we did.
No. That I pulled up an article on BBC here. It was like from August, but a new independent company owned by clubs, which has taken over the top 2 tiers of English women's football, can elevate the game to unprecedented levels, says its chief executive. Women's Professional League Limited, WPLL, now controls the Women's Super League and Women's Championship. It says it will create a new era for the sport. So it's not the FA. So immediate changes. It's fully independent of the FA, has full control of the 2 divisions. Each of the 23 clubs, 12 in the WSL, 11 Championship, own a stake. Premier League has given the WPL a $20 million interest-free loan. Premier League will offer support in areas including broadcasting, commercial, and football operations. A new board's been founded, and the FA retains a special share, which gives it the right to a portion of the revenue once thresholds are met to reinvest in grassroots women and girls football practice or football projects.
Yeah, the FA wasn't equipped. The FA's stretched too thin to really.
They got 117 charges to look over, man. They can't.
150.
Listen, we have a lot of time in the pub. We got to figure this out for this year, guys. Like, listen, we did Everton last year.
Twice.
We pissed off Nottingham, so we really have to give the piss to Man City, or else, listen, we're not doing our jobs here in the pub. Hey, can I have another pint, by the way? But thank you.
I love Michael Oliver. He's such a good bartender.
Oh, I love him. Yeah, no, he's great. He's passing out cards. Yeah, he's missing calls. He's a little shaky, but you know what? We love him.
Enough with the cursing.
I can't. Our radio drama.
You're not curse in an English women's accent there. That's like, it's a must.
Ron's making a very funny face at you.
Yep. We have a rogue sound effect playing in our ears.
Oh, I was going to say, I don't hear anything.
We just introed the pod again, essentially.
It was the end. It was the outro.
It was the outro. Okay, well, there you go.
Well, there you go. I mean, I guess is that our segue? Shall we
sure, I guess it's you're telling me to hurry up there. Okay, fair enough. No more English ladies.
Like the freaking Oscars, man.
You got played off.
The Milan derby. We will just talk about that in the Serie A. But AC Milan finally win their first derby match over Inter since September of 2022. And it was courtesy of a late 89th minute goal from center back Matteo Gabbia. But the derby affair kicked off early in the 10th minute with play from U.S. men's national team captain Christian Pulisic getting his 3rd of the Italian campaign so far. Federico De Marco tied it up for Inter shortly thereafter, about 10 minutes later for the Black and Blues, but it was ultimately Gabbia's thumping header later in the match to secure the Red and Blacks' first derby win in 2 years by the score of 2-1. And gents, the question is, with 3 goals and 2 assists so far in all 5 league matches for AC Milan, how excited do you think Pochettino is for the October friendlies and getting Christian Pulisic in there?
I'm just glad old Christian P finally got over to somewhere he could play all the time.
Me too. God.
He's playing all the time. He's an integral part. He's tearing it up for Milan. Did last season too, and is off to a great start here.
Yeah. I think from a USMNT perspective, I think these friendlies coming up are relatively throwaway. Right?
Except for one.
Which one?
Mexico.
It's not going to matter.
We should beat them because they're
even if we don't, right? You can chalk it up to Poch testing out various players.
But we got to win your first one. Come on, that's going to be.
No, you got to win. You got to win the ones that count.
Sure, no.
If he loses these friendlies, but it's in the next major competition that he's winning. No one's even going to remember his loss to Mexico.
It's going to be interesting because coaching a national team is very different, and not every manager can translate back and forth. Some can't do well at club level; they do great at national, international, and so this will be interesting. Poch always thought he's a pretty good guy in a tournament and stuff. This might play well to his strengths fairly well. I don't know,
and he doesn't have to develop people, right? Which is he's already.
Well, correct. And in fairness, a majority of the what you would probably put out as a first team men's national team are developed at this stage.
Right.
You don't have to, right? This is the golden age, as we've been saying with these type of players. So he doesn't have to. So it's a good time for him to come in. I'm certainly excited to see how he is. But there's Serie A is really. We just talked about them being on Paramount Plus. They are really like where Americans are going to play now. It used to be Germany, but it's really Italy right now with Musa playing for AC Milan, with McKennie playing for Juventus, with Timmy Weah playing for Juventus. You're having a good contingent of Americans playing in a very technical, defensive, kind of classic football style for what Italy does. And you're watching them play week in and week out, and they're getting into Champions League games as well via their finishes with these clubs in the league. Right. So Serie A has been fun. I've watched more Serie A this past season, which is only 5 seasons long, than I have, and it's a fun league to watch. Boring at times in terms of how they play, that kind of stagnant defensive, lock everything up and just kind of pass the ball around without moving forward. But it's a good league for our Americans to be playing in, because they're playing against some top European talent.
This season, I've been watching a bit more La Liga, only because I just returned from Spain, and I got to watch quite a few matches. Sitting there having some Iberico ham and a beer and some good manchego, and just
I'm gonna dry martini, shaken not stirred. Now while we're at it,
okay. I'm not gonna complain about that.
It was the manchego cheese. On
it
top
was
of it. That's what sealed it. It was like, that sounds awesome. Oh, you pretentious bastard!
Hey, when you're in Spain, you don't have much choice, right? But I do enjoy seeing how the Americans are doing in the Italian league, because it's really allowing us to gain a foothold in European football that I don't think we have had that has been as successful. So we had some players go right to the Premier League and do well, right? Tim Howard had his run at Everton and was incredible there, right? But it wasn't so many players so at the same time all finding success.
Brian McBride's and those type that were early on, yeah.
So I am excited to see the first couple of matches for Poch, to see who he picks, why he picks them, and how he develops the strategy.
Can he be as a preeminent strategist as Greg Berhalter? I still want to punch everybody who does U.S. soccer in the dick for bringing that dude back for round 2.
Well, on that note, we'll end with the friendly games, or October 12th against Panama and October 15th against Mexico. And that has been your La Liga's Roundup.
Just like Mortal Kombat, Johnny Cage on crank.
Right.
There's a callback I haven't heard of in a while.
Hilarious.
Never hurt anybody.
Right, not at all.
All right, let's wrap this sucker up. Our beer mentions of the pod. I had 2 Rhodes Mary Baby pumpkin beer aged in rum barrels with vanilla beans.
Our first beer of the pod, real American beer, brother.
Oh, yeah.
The Hulk Hogan beer that gives people stitches. And it was, in a word, forgettable.
Not the worst beer we've had on the pod.
No. Forgettable.
Not the worst, just kind of fades away into a distant.
Yep. And you got a 12 pack of it, brother.
Yep. And
Actually, 10 more.
those middle beers that are forgettable are the worst because we make fun of the beers that are the terrible ones all the time. And we have bet beers and things like that. And then we always have callbacks about the best beers, right? But those ones in the middle like this are just forgettable. And then we also had Tuckerbrau's Festbier.
Very, very good. I'm
which
flying
is
through it.
Super good.
Very, very good.
If you like the show, please tell your friends and family about the show. Leave us a review on whatever your podcatcher of choice is. Follow us on the Twitters, the X's, the Facebooks, the wherevers. Let us know what's going on. If you do leave us one of those reviews, make sure you send us a private message about one of those, and we'll try to get something fun in the mail to you.
Untapped.
You got a Zlatan quote?
Oh, pulling from the gift that keeps on giving the whole year, that athletic article by Adam Crofton. So he wrote, so here we go. So I'm going to read a little bit of his article and then the quote. He goes, so here we go. Welcome to Zlatan's world, where Zlatan could not be any more Zlatan. The Zlatan caricature, is now well established. The self-defecating and the comparisons to apex predators.
Sorry, did you say self-defecating?
Yeah, I heard that too.
I'm having trouble reading this right here. Defecating is what it was.
It's not the right word.
That's pooping your pants.
The defecation. No.
Defecation is pooping yourself.
Deprecating.
Yes.
Self-deprecating.
No.
Deprecating is the right one.
If they wrote that is in the athletic article.
No, I'm probably not. I'm definitely not saying the word right. But what is that's an F there?
Where is it? Oh, self.
Did
So
they
I've never
misspell?
heard of that word.
Right. So that's why it looks like it's defecation.
Maybe
You got to say that.
maybe we're about to get schooled. Spell it.
DEIFICATION.
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 Okay.
Didn't.
Deity, like a god.
Hey,
God
listen.
Yes.
I work with horror a majority, and that's happens to come up at times. So that's the first word that came to mind.
Did you say you work with whores?
I work in the horror, the scary, the haunted, the horror. I'm trying to dig myself out of it. It's not working too well. Anyways, we're gonna skip that. The comparisons to apex predators, the third person references. I ask if there is anything he would like to speak about. Here's the quote. Zlatan answers, everything. I'm not like the other ones. I'm a different species. And
awesome.
Specimens if you're talking defecation.
Amazing.
Brilliant.
Well, as always, again, go to the website, beautifulgame.com, where you can find all the information about us. And Untapped, I left that out earlier. Make sure you find us in all the beers that we've been drinking.
I left a ton of beers from Spain in there.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like a year from now, we're going to be drinking beers from Germany.
Yes.
That's happening. You know what the best thing about Oktoberfest is? Promoting cross-cultural understanding.
Hey, nice.
Hey, well done.
All right, thank you. You're welcome.
So
subtle.
Blake, may I say that you have to go back and listen to the last pod and then 2 pods before that, right? Because those are the 2 pods that we did separately.
It was that close together. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I had to do the dad jokes,
Oh yeah, good ones.
and they got standing O's from Mr. Glenn Ferris.
He's working to do his own with those jokes.
We should do a whole dad joke special at some point.
That'd be so great.
All right, gents. Always a pleasure. Love the beer. Cherish the game. The
Prost.
beautiful game. Prost.